Well, here we are. Happy Fintech Focus Thursday, brought to you by Konex.work. And I don't think it's any mistake that I'm wearing red today, because there's blood on the carpet everywhere, right? So, hi everybody, all our viewers. Thank you very much for tuning in. Obviously, we've got myself, Podcast Paul. We've got the one and only Crypto Dave. Say hi, Dave.
Good. It's red.
It's red.
A little bit
It's
red. A little bit green.
And we have somebody joining us from Subic. Well, he says he's in Subic. It could just be in a casino somewhere the other side of the world, right? Or on a golf course. Mr. Lewis, are you well?
All good, guys. All good. Although I could potentially look red a bit, but well, yeah, it depends on if there's enough light on my face.
And our viewers out there, I'm very pleased and very honoured to be able to welcome our first ever guest, and somebody we hope that will be a permanent fixture on the team here over at Fintech Focus is Aya. Say hi, Aya.
Hello. I feel like I should have changed my clothes before joining and worn red too. Sorry, guys.
No, you're good. Thank you so much for joining. Very global panel today. Crypto Dave's over there, and you're in Tokyo today, my friend, or you've decided to go somewhere else?
No, I'm in Tokyo.
Excellent. And then, I'm in Metro Manila. Ollie's over there in Subic, so we're both in the Philippines. And where are you again? Just remind the audience.
Yeah, I'm in Vancouver Island in Canada, so West Coast.
Wow. Crypto Dave, you never told me that. I'd have changed the time. Man.
Yeah, it's 2:30 a.m. here.
Oh wow, okay.
I'm really sorry. We won't do that.
No, that's right. I live and work in Japan time still, so it's all good.
Okay. All right. Okay. Cool. So we will come to your story towards the latter part of the podcast, the live stream, which we're all very excited about. But I think it would be remiss of us as a panel if we didn't start to talk about what's going on this week, right? So,
yeah, understandably.
So let's go. Crypto Dave, do you want to start, mate? So what's happening in the cryptocurrency world this week?
Everybody should sell. Everybody should sell everything. It's the ship is sinking. It's gone. No.
No way. You're being sarcastic there, right? Before everyone gets out their exchanges.
Maybe. I'm stoic, right? So yes. Look, I think
he's doing an Elon, and then he's going to blow everything up again.
I have like 20 followers on Twitter. That's a problem. Big difference there. No, look, I think this is a combination of really kind of crazy things that's going on. So as we know, last week, the whole Elon Musk thing, he tweeted a number of times, and I think right now. It's all he has, like I alluded to a little bit earlier, is we kind of have the herd mentality now, and people are kind of chasing the next kind of get rich kind of scheme, that are really looking at everything from a bigger picture as well, and looking at really the usage of certain coins or certain fundamentals of things. And then Elon Musk, he has 50 million followers on Twitter. He moves markets, right? He moves the stock markets. Of course, it's going to move immature markets such as cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in general. So obviously, these two news came on saying that they have sold 10%. Is it right? 10% of their reserves is one thing, and then it followed up with that saying that they're not going to be accepting Bitcoin anymore for payments to Tesla unless it gets more green. And because of that, we have a lot of new guys into the market. They're chasing meme coins, and part of chasing meme coins, they read Reddit, they read Twitter, they see these things, the sentiments in terms of really fundamentals going on. So people panic. And because people panic, a lot of the new guys start to sell and get shaken onto the market without really understanding exactly what the market is about. And then I think it was 2 days ago, correct me if I'm wrong, Aya, the China news came out as well. saying that basically you can not deal in a lot of the industries or companies cannot deal in cryptocurrency. Is that what it is, Aya?
I think they had hinted they said that there was a warning as to if you deal in crypto, there may be losses incurred due to volatility, so be careful. It was kind of like the warning. At least that's what I had read. But to be honest, I had heard kind of various different stories about it. Reuters, Bloomberg, they all had a slightly different version of the stories. I'm not really sure what actually happened. I'm not sure if anyone's actually sure what actually happened.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And that's an interesting point. And then essentially is what China has said from 2017. It's just a reiteration of that, saying that, look, this volatility, as I alluded to, people can make losses on this. Exchanges cannot exist in China. If you want to trade, you have to trade OTC. You have to physically go somewhere. You have to trade someone over the counter, meet someone to actually do a physical trade. Merchants cannot deal with the cryptocurrency, yada, yada, yada. But this is nothing that we haven't heard 3-4 years ago. This is something that I've already done. But, news came out, they made statements, as I also alluded to, news interpreted it in a different way and spit it out a different way. But right now we have so many new people within the market. 2017 is something that I've never heard of. And all they hear is, oh my gosh, China has banned this, has banned that. Now this is all going to crap, blah, blah, blah. So this started selling as well. So these three things happened. And then I was also looking at Twitter. There's also forums because of the whole Wall Street bet stuff. We all know that the markets in general are manipulated, right? Including the stock market as well. There's a forum basically, getting a bunch of big whales together and saying at this time, let's all dump, right? By dumping, we'll get a lot of people out of the market that are very leveraged. And then from there, let's look at, collecting more cheap Bitcoin and then moving up from there. So that's what I feel there's a manipulation that's happened there, taking advantage of all the leverage from the bad news and then just re-dumping the markets and making what it is now. Oh yeah, anything else want to on top of that?
Yeah, no, I think same thing. I think of all the people who have joined into crypto in the past year and a half or so, and they haven't heard this message that's been said already 20, 25, 30 times now. They haven't heard any of those ban stories yet, and this is probably the first major pullback that they've seen. So of course, it's it's not it's a pretty large pullback, but they haven't seen anything like this before, so they're not prepared for how to deal with it emotionally, I feel like.
Yeah, indeed. So yeah, Paul, are you still there?
I think we've lost him. He'll probably come back soon. We've got the caricature version of him though. Oh, right here.
He's there digitally.
Digitally, yeah, great. So look, since we're waiting for Paul to come back in, basically I want to share one chart with people.
Yeah, just to go on what you said, Dave. Look, I've been building my network and getting groups, creating groups in terms of people investing in cryptocurrency, and it's growing, right? Obviously, this will help us with our Konex project. And like yesterday, some of the messages, I was just like, Jesus, man, it's only been a couple of days, guys. I mean, if you look at the history of the actual from the beginning, I mean, not that I'm an expert in this, but it is only going to go up, right? It's not. I don't think it's going to go down. And also, on the plus side, you probably want more people to be investing and getting involved in the crypto industry. So so it's a very hot topic at the moment, and it's a lot of the newbies I find they're very emotional.
Yeah, look, I think this markets and just stock markets or any markets are very transparent. It's not for everybody because transparency is not necessarily good for health, right? That's why some people like Tim Ferriss, he doesn't invest into the stock market because he will keep looking at it. He invests into things such as private equity, right? So things that have so much liquidity or transparency because he cannot deal with it emotionally. But unfortunately or fortunately, something like cryptocurrencies is very transparent. Volatility is very high and up and down. So unless you have the mental capacity to deal with it, maybe it's not a good thing to also keep in the market as well. And anybody who got into the market at a certain time eventually would be in red for a period of time, right? When I first got into the market, and then when I bought in, at one point it dumped, and I was in the red quite a bit. But there's always going to be a trial by fire or baptism by fire for a period of time before it moves back up. And then after that, you never revisit that period again because the price never goes out low. But you can never obviously time the bottom and hope that every single day will keep going back up, and you never can time that. So I think that there's always going to be baptism of fire. I think this one was probably one of the big ones. But eventually go back up, and we're going to come back to this price level again. So yeah.
I don't know if this is a question for yourself, Crypto Dave, or for Aya there. Do you think the dip that we've seen? So there's two ways to look at the dip, right? The dip is blood on the carpet. So some people view that as a sale. So is now the time to invest in the likes of Bitcoin and I can't even speak today. The other one, the one that begins with E. My apologies. And do you think it signals the end of the likes of the Dodge coins out there, the meme coins? Do you think now that following this blip, because it's a blip, right? It's a dip. We'll eventually, come out of it. Do you think we've seen the back end of those? The trendy coins, for want of a better phrase. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Badly.
Yeah. I don't think the meme coins are gone.
Coins.
They're here to stay, and sure, we might lose a few of them as casualties in this, but there will always be more coming later, right? So I'm thinking back to maybe 2012 or so, like just thinking of all the coins that existed back then that have disappeared, and there's always like a wave, a new generation of them that come later. So we may lose a few here and there, but they exist because people want them to, and even if they don't have value, it's a cultural thing now, right? It's kind of like a subculture. So having those around, that's not going to change, I think.
Crypto #Crypto Dave. Agree? Disagree?
Yeah, I agree with it. My only thing I'm a little bit worried about, because these meme coins do get a lot of attention. People think that is the market. People get into these kind of coins first rather than get into ones that's been around for a lot longer, because then you put up by this whole Bitcoin is $40,000 right now, right? It's very expensive. But in actuality, if you're looking for a more stable and an investment that's for the long term and is better for your health in terms of not having to chase the next meme, you would diversify on the big guys and then put a little bit into speculation on like a meme coin chasing the big gains for 100x or something like that. But as much as it can go up, it can go down. No one wants to get burned, but people will get burned. But they have to understand that chasing these meme coins, this is what they should expect as well.
I know when we spoke last week, Crypto Dave, you weren't a big fan of the meme coins, right? Because of exactly what you've spoken about there. So interested. Crypto Dave, we've had a question from our audience. I don't know if you can help out. DM is asking, I just want to know, what are the examples of fintech? So maybe fintech or cryptocurrency. What examples can you share with DM, mate?
What are the examples of fintech? Look, fintech is a lot of different spaces, right? So basically, fintech is any technologies that deal with finances. So I'll give you an idea of my background. So when I was, working at the New York Stock Exchange, I was dealing with market data, right? So market data is also very, very key for traders to make decisions. So I was selling really fast market data for high frequency traders, and these are people who are in and out of markets very, very quickly. So it's all about speed and how fast I can get the data to the algorithm to make a decision, consume it, and be able to send a trade over to the market. And then I got into things such as equity and stock technologies. And this is all about how quick can you send an order from your computer or algorithm to the exchange, but also at the same time have risk checks in between. So all those parts are actually fintech, right? But one was talking about market data coming in. One is about actually taking the order and sending it out. And there's an algorithm. Algorithm can be also developed as well. That's also part of fintech. And then before this, I was also in the FX space as well. And FX space is about liquidity, how much liquidity you can get from different banks, different kind of vendors, how you aggregate that, and from there, how can you get the pricing on that? So this is all fintech. And then we have things such as cryptocurrency, which Aya can touch upon. She used to work for a cryptocurrency exchange. But fintech is really, really, really wide. It can be for remittance. It could be for retail in terms of the Beck's experience on a retail bank usage. It's huge. But anything to do with finance and taking finance into the next level beyond the brick and mortar, essentially. Aya, you want to touch upon that?
Matt, I think you said it pretty beautifully. And like another example, maybe like mobile banking. Like we haven't really had a lot of accessible internet banking outside of the experience of going to the teller or being at the bank until the past, let's say 10 years or so. Now it's very rare to not have access to your bank account from your phone, and not just bank account, but your portfolio or other kind of wealth management. So that's another area to look into maybe as well.
I remember the times in the UK when banks used to close at 3 p.m. on a Wednesday, and then they were open only until 12 o'clock on a Saturday, and they were only open on a Monday to Friday between 9 and 5 or 9 to 4:30. So if you were working before the 24-hour shift took hold, you had no chance of getting to the bank unless you went on a Saturday. So it's amazing, in terms of now what we count as normality versus a few years, well, not a few is wrong, but certainly 10, 15 years ago when I was David's age. Right, so yeah, amazing. Cool. Okay.
Get into crypto. If you're using crypto, there is no bank closing whatsoever. So money for the people, by the people. Hey, look, real quickly, before we start to segue a little bit, I want to quickly just show the audience a quick chart.
Please, go for it.
And again, this is the idea of looking at things from a longer perspective. There's a very famous model. It's called the stock to flow model. Are you aware of this, Aya, the stock flow?
I've heard of the name, but I am not familiar with it enough to explain it.
Okay, so stock to flow ratio essentially is usually a ratio calculated for goods that have limited supply, so commodities such as gold, silver, platinum, whatever that might be. And the idea is you look at how much has been mined, that's a stock, and how much are being mined, that's a flow. And then you can do a calculation based on the diminishing amount of flow that you are going to be receiving, because gold is finite amount, and you can calculate based on that. And higher the ratio, the better in terms of a certain assets will hold. The lower the ratio, the worse in terms of how the asset will hold in terms of value. Now we know that Bitcoin is deflationary. It's only ever going to be 21 million, ever mined. We already know there's a number of them essentially is lost or locked up forever. So when you have a very small amount of Bitcoin that's actually available in the market, and then we have what is called halvenings. Essentially, is it every 4 or 5 years? 4 years, Aya?
4.
4 years. Okay. The rewards in terms of the miners will get halved. So what that means is the flow of side things will always keep getting diminished and diminished and diminished. So if you look at the stock to flow ratio, this is the time, right? And then this is the price. And this is the blue line is really where if you follow the stock to flow, it has been almost right on the dot in terms of what the stock to flow is, right? And we are right here. And this is the 2017 crash I experienced. And this was right here, okay? And this was another crash here, somewhere, I can't even tell all the dots. Maybe this is before my time. Maybe Aya, you experienced this crash in 2013, 2014. I think this is when
Mount Gox.
Okay, yeah, Mount Gox happened. So if you look at the big picture, we're right here. We're right here. This was the last crash. So if you believe in this model, and this model has been around for quite some time, and a lot of people think this is a correct model in terms of how you appreciate or how you calculate Bitcoin, we're still quite a long time off. So HODL, be patient, and let the fundamentals play out.
And for those people out there that are unfamiliar, and I know we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago, HODL means go on, Crypto Dave.
Oh, hold on for dear life.
Excellent. It's not the Game of Thrones HODL, right? So cool. Perfect. That's great. Thank you, sir. I really appreciate when you do stuff like that. Before we pivot to our back-end story here, which I'm really excited about, we've had 2 further questions from DMs. You just need some clarity over fintech, if that's okay. So the first question is, what's the difference between fintech and banks?
Yeah, I don't think you can really separate the two anymore. Banks are banks, right? They keep money, they store money, the regulatory, backed. They're in the states of FDIC insured, so they're all kind of the regulatory and entity, I guess, backdrop in terms of how people can deal with money. Fintech and technology essentially is what empowers the people to get access to the money, right? How you go about using technology to make sure that, there's no shady business happening with your money, to help you safeguard from a technology perspective. Also, it's easy access, also easy to invest as well. So I see technology, I think, is kind of the regulatory framework, but technology is really everything that's operating the bank on an operational basis. Yeah, you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, I think you said it pretty well.
All right.
This guy is just a genius, right? He's a genius.
It's just, yeah. You don't need me on here.
Oh, come on.
No, the last question is, can we consider Gcash, PayPal, or PayMaya? So PayMaya is a payment system in the Philippines. I don't know if you guys are aware of it, as part of fintech. I guess that's a yes or a no answer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. These are, they e-payments, they touch money, they are part of fintech.
Cool. Mm-hmm. And I just think for clarity purposes, just, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, you know this far better than me. Fintech fintech means financial technology. So anything that's used to support the financial system services for transactions or whatever it may be, correct or not?
No, correct, absolutely. Also, another thing about fintech is a lot of it is regarding regulations as well. You detect funky things. Actually, Aya is part of the business as well, in the industry as well, in terms of AML and KYC as well. So anti-money laundering and know your customers. So that's all powered by fintech, and it definitely is part of as much as remittance and transferring money is also a key part of it as well.
Excellent, cool, thank you, mate. So let's get to the crux of today's live stream. I'm really excited about this. So we know there's some challenges in the cryptocurrency world at the moment. Our advice, again, we're not official advisors or anything like that, but our advice is HODL, things will be improving, particularly given the fact that I'm wearing red today. But for our regular viewers out there, as you may have noticed, your eagle-eyed guys out there, we do have a new member for the live stream today. Aya is joining us all the way from Canada, and we hope she's going to be a permanent member of the team. David has introduced us to Aya. So David, I think it's only fair that I tag this over to you now so that we can hear a little bit more about Aya. So Crypto Dave, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, so Aya, I guess one thing that we wanted to do is to a lot of people are obviously interested in crypto for the sake of securing their wealth in the future. But another thing is people want to get into it as a career as well. Crypto is obviously still quite new. Bitcoin's been around a little over 10 plus years or so, and lots of things have developed since then. But Aya, you have experience with exchanges. Now you're working with us from an HR perspective using blockchain and payments technology, and also you were at Basset in terms of AML. A lot of people want to get into space, so we'd like to hear about your journey also maybe some of your advice, and also in generally speaking, where you see the industry going. So, lots of things there. Leave it to
All
you.
right. Where to start? Can you hear me okay? Actually, I switched my mic out. So is this one, can you hear it okay? Does it sound okay? All right.
Yep.
So hello. My name is Aya Walraven. I've been working in the cryptocurrency space. I guess the first time I started doing crypto stuff is back in 2011. Back then, I was working. I had a business for doing like web media and web development and also design work. And I was also working at a university here in Canada as a researcher doing research on augmented reality at the time. So I kind of have a background interest in like kind of emerging tech for a while now. And around then I kind of discovered Bitcoin through some forums that were mostly for gamers to talk about self-built PCs and the cool rigs that they've set up. And I remember seeing like for the first time this machine that had like, about like 4 or more like graphics cards just like stuffed in there. And I was like, that's new. What is this? And from there, I discovered, okay, there's this thing called Bitcoin. And I didn't really get it at first. And but having a background in a few things. So my background is in art, digital art, but also computer science. And I also worked for a political science related organization for a while. So I thought, oh, that's interesting. And like, it's an interesting way I can kind of combine all of these things together because I feel like a lot of the people at the time, a lot of people who were into crypto came from really diverse backgrounds. People were into it for the chaotic element. People were into it because they were just really into cryptography at the time. There are artists who were like, okay, they discovered, I can earn money. I can earn Bitcoin pretty easily by doing, work online, getting paid in Bitcoin. And so I decided around 2013 that I would kind of put all of my other work on hold and really focus on doing work that relates to crypto only. Kind of a bold move, I think, at the time, and I got really lucky. I also moved to Tokyo, Japan at that time, and got started working with a small startup doing. They were first focused on remittance and payment processing, and then later pivoted to doing an exchange. I ended up leaving there and joining another startup called Bitflyer, which at the time was a very small kind of exchange based in Tokyo, about 7 people at the time, which has now grown into a huge, pretty large company. I would say it's probably like the Coinbase of Japan. I ended up becoming the department head of UI UX, so user interface and user experience over there. And in the past, I guess about 2 years ago, I left and started my own company. And so now I have this company called Bassett, made by me and my business partner. We started out with looking into what kind of things we can do with blockchain big data. And this kind of span off of an experience I had as the organizer of the Bitcoin meetups in Tokyo. So in 2013 or so, the meetup scene was pretty hot. Bitcoin was getting a little bit popular, at least among the people who were into emerging tech. And we had a meetup every Friday or Thursday, kind of changed here and there. But I noticed that when people were coming to the meetup, which we held at usually at a bar somewhere, I realized, if I pay attention to the time that they paid for something, and back then there were only maybe 1 or 2 transactions per second, and if I looked carefully at what they had drank that night, maybe 3 beers or so, and correlate the amount of money they would have spent and the timing, I could guess with reasonable accuracy what their Bitcoin address was. So it's kind of like you could say a timing attack analysis of addresses. And it made me really aware of Bitcoin privacy and how little there is. It's good and bad to that. I mean, like Bitcoin is designed to be transparent, so there's that part. But it's also designed to be only pseudonymous, and the general recommendation is that you don't associate your real name with your address as much as possible, or as little as possible. So with that kind of interest in mind, it became a hobby of mine to just kind of analyze different addresses. And over the years, many different incidents happened. Various hacked exchanges, or just even small cases of people having their wallets compromised at some point. And that hobby ended up becoming what I do at Bassett. So we kind of look into transaction analysis. It's kind of an interesting place to be in. A lot of people believe it's evil, but at the same time, I think a lot of good can come out of it as well. And if there's anyone listening today who is kind of new to Bitcoin, my main advice would be to please pay attention to how much information that you reveal about yourself and your Bitcoin addresses, because it may matter sometime in the future. Who knows? But anyway, yeah, so that's what Bassett does. We do a lot of transaction analysis. Some of it is for AML KYC purposes. Some of it is for incident response, like hacked exchanges and whatnot. And also, we recently released a publicly usable version of our blockchain explorer. And so you're able to actually search and see what is known publicly about an address. So it's kind of, a lot of people, they may say that they don't, but they may Google their own name, for example, and see what shows up. Kind of the same thing for crypto. So you would maybe enter a Bitcoin address and see what's publicly known about that address. A lot of people tend to post their addresses on Twitter, on different forums, on blog posts. So all of that stuff will show up and maybe make you very aware of how much you're revealing about yourself online.
Yeah, I think that's one good point. I mean, one thing is, as you mentioned, that maybe people seeing it's kind of tracking is kind of evil. But at the same time, if you really want to get the masses to really get into cryptocurrencies, understand the value of Bitcoin, there's going to be people who always want to have understanding of transparency, as well as eventually the regulators backing them up, or kind of the central bank backing them up. Say, yeah, you know what? I'm using this technology. I know where everything is going. Anti-money laundering is not an issue anymore. It's safe to get into this asset, right? So it's more of a legitimacy of the space. But these kind of things are required in order for regulatory to really regulate, and for people to safe to get in after regulation comes in as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the part about like mainstream, because that's kind of like a major motivator for me for a lot of the projects that I work on. Bassett is no different. Working with Konex is the same. Konex, I think, I don't know if you guys usually talk about it that much on the show, but basically, it's allowing people to earn rewards for helping their friends get hired. And those rewards are earned in crypto. And I feel like that's a very easy way to onboard people into the experience of owning Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, because they're not putting any of their own money at stake, right? So they're able to do something, and they don't have to worry, oh, should I trust this exchange with my money? Is it okay to link my bank account? There's no concern there. If you're able to earn cryptocurrency passively, I feel like that's a really a nice way to get in. Another project that I did also is kind of the Satori coin. It's like a physical Bitcoin, sort of like poker chip looking thing. And one of those, the motivation there is to make sure that it's a low value item. So if I lose it, I don't feel bad about losing it. It shouldn't be economically devastating to me for that to happen. And it's because it's also a low amount of money. You're not really putting much at stake. So I hope that everything that I work on in the future, even from now on in crypto, has that kind of same sort of, I don't know, you call it ethos, I guess.
yeah. Ethos, right. Yeah. I have a question for you, and this is kind of a off the street question. You were talking about crypto addresses. What does that mean in terms of what is a crypto address and why is it important for me, for example, not to share too much information about it?
Yeah, so Bitcoin addresses, in some ways, not unlike an email address, although it should not really be used that way, at least in the general sense. It's like a pointer to your wallet, and most Bitcoin wallets, at least we're talking about Bitcoin. So most Bitcoin wallets, they're intelligent in the way that they will manage multiple addresses for you. And the reason why they do that is, well, they try to make sure that you're not using the same addresses multiple times. And the reason why that might happen is, let's say I use the same address for my entire lifetime, over and over and over again. And even though I've never told anyone my name, this address belongs to IL Raven, someone could watch that address over a period of time and start to gain maybe a profile of who I am. So if I'm always spending my money at a certain time of day, they might guess where I live based on the time zone. If they're aware of the owners of the addresses that I'm sending money to, they also might have a guess of what kind of things I like to buy, who my friends are, so on and so on. You wouldn't allow anyone to look into your credit card statement or your bank statement, right? But if you continue to use the same address over and over again, that's essentially what you're allowing to happen with a Bitcoin address. So to avoid that, many addresses are smart, and they try and they'll generate a new fresh address every time you receive money or you spend money. Yeah, does that explain your question?
Yeah, it does, because I was unsure about what it meant, so I appreciate it, because you see an address and straight away because I'm the wrong side of 40, right? Because when somebody mentions to me address, I straight away think of my home address, which when you talk about privacy and security, does straight away give you that, oh my God, I'm worried about sharing my address. So it's good to know that, I just needed to know kind of what you mean when you talk about like a Bitcoin address. So yeah, no, that's cool. That's cool. I'm just looking at your Basset website now. So Basset, I'm guessing is the dog, right?
Yes, it is. The Basset Hound is the second best dog in terms of sense of smell. Actually, the strongest sense of smell belongs to the Bloodhound, but we thought Bloodhound as a brand sounded a little bit scary and aggressive, so we thought we'd tone it back and go one rank down and go with the Basset Hound instead.
There's a story in terms of how the Bloodhound got its name, and it's linked to the German word for blood, and for the life of me, I can't remember what the story is, but it's linked. Yeah. Oh no, hang on. I'm not sure now. But there's a story there. There's a story there.
Oh yeah.
I digress.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Excellent. Perfect. Mr. Crypto Dave, over to you, my friend.
So I'm a little bit conscious of time too, but the one last question I wanted to ask you, Aya. So a lot of people want to get into this space, don't know how, don't know where, don't know how to search it. Obviously, crypto is new. There's obviously a lot of ventures, not like Amazon. I want to work in tech, I'll go to Amazon. There's a couple of big guys, but not so many big guys like regular tech. What's your recommendation in terms of getting into this space? I guess another good question is, what's a good motivation factor to also get into this space as well?
Mm-hmm. I'm not a fan of purely investment-driven interest in cryptocurrency. And also, I mean, I think it's wrong to assume that if you get into a crypto-related job that you're suddenly going to get rich. That's definitely not true. So I think maybe I would apply the same logic as I would to people who are interested in buying crypto. Do your due diligence. There are a lot of shady companies out there as well, so just watch out for that. I think I hear a lot of people who are concerned, like, oh, I don't really know that much about cryptocurrencies or about Bitcoin. How would I ever get into a company that does that stuff? The answer is actually you can, and you don't really have to know that much about it to get started. There are companies, that need designers like any other company would. They need compliance people. They need accountants like any other company would. If you're an engineer, same deal. Definitely it helps to have a background. And I think if you're interested in learning a little bit more about the technical background of Bitcoin, there are a lot of really great resources available. One would be, for example, the Mastering Bitcoin book. I think the first couple chapters really kind of nail the reason why Bitcoin exists, what its benefits are, and how it works at an entry-level explanation. There's also a course, I think it's, I want to say it's, is it Harvard? There's an online course on Coursera, and if you search Bitcoin, there's a really good course that you can do for free on there, and that's a great intro as well. Yeah, I mean, definitely there are a lot of big and small startups that do crypto, and if you're into that kind of startup scene, give it a try. If you're wanting to go into something a little bit more stable, so to speak, banks, big institutions are starting to look into crypto now too, and they're looking for people who can bootstrap those kind of new departments in their companies. So that's where to look.
Great, thank you.
Yeah.
So audience out there,
thank you.
Aya's experience for the possible new way to find next evolution of money.
Yes.
Absolutely. Aya, thank you so much. It's been an absolute privilege and pleasure to have you on. Crypto Dave, before you go, we mentioned either last week or the week before, we were talking about exchanges, right? And you mentioned an exchange. Is it BlockFi, if I pronounced that correctly?
BlockFi, yeah, you can earn interest off of your Bitcoin or some other cryptos holdings, yes.
Didn't they do something rather stupid this week by mistake?
Yeah, I did something very stupid this week. Yeah, I wish I was
What did they do?
Yeah, so basically on the they're mainly a deposit platform where you deposit your Bitcoin with them and they will lend it out and they give you obviously a nice interest on top of that. They also have a trading function they added recently, and to do a promotion on that, they say, hey, look, if you trade X amount on us, we'll basically give you some kind of kickback, essentially a cashback, whatever that might be. That's supposed to be in the form of a stable coin, so like a USD pegged coin. But instead they give that back in Bitcoin. So instead of giving you $1 in stablecoin, they give you one Bitcoin. Some people ended up having like $20 million worth of money in their accounts. Yeah, so I think ultimately it was maybe I'm missing 10. Is it $90 million or $900 million that is distributed in terms of Bitcoin? And they were taking that very seriously, obviously, and trying to work that transaction back, essentially.
Wow. And is there any recourse for that? Or is not at the moment they paid it out? That's it.
No, I think they basically block all the transaction that's happened, or block the transaction to take the Bitcoin out of the platform and then reversed it. So as of right now, they have reversed most of it already, but the remaining of it, they're trying to figure it out. Wow. So I still have my money there. I think it'll be okay. They're backed by a lot of big investors, but I've spread out my cash holding amongst many exchanges and platforms. So that's what I did. But thanks for pointing that out.
I saw it on social media, I think yesterday or the day before, and I thought, well, I recognize the name because of what we spoke about. I thought I've got to call it out. Wonderful, excellent, cool. All right then, let's draw today's live stream to a close. I thank you so much for joining. I know you work Japanese time, however, it's still stupid o'clock for you, and thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Much for joining. Really appreciate it, and hopefully we'll be able to get you back next week where we'll be able to do a little bit more in-depth discussion about what's happening in the world, and let's hope that the market has returned to some sense of normality, and I don't have to wear rad next week. Fingers crossed.
We're-
Mr. Crypto Dave, why don't you take us out, mate? Why don't you say goodbye to everybody?
Yeah, goodbye, everybody. Don't panic. Hold on. Everything be okay. Look at the long term.
It is going to be okay. Perfect. All right, guys, listen, thank you so much for tuning in. Really appreciate the interaction and the comments. We're here to help you out. We know it's a minefield out there. And ultimately, what we're trying to do is just to make it a little bit more understandable for the average man like myself in the street. In fact, I'm probably a little bit below average. So smarter people out there, please, this is what we're here for. We're here to help you out. David, have a wonderful week. Have a great weekend. And again, thank you so much for your time. Viewers out there, please get in touch. We're here to help you. Got any questions? Got anything that you're unsure about, crypto related or even your more, traditional stocks and shares related? We'll happily share and ask those questions. Hang on, before we go, we do have a comment. Oh, hang on. I hope you can help teach us how to earn more in Bitcoin. DM, that's exactly why we're here. So as David was just saying, Hodol, don't knee jerk. Just hang in there. All right, cool. Everybody, thank you so much for your time. And I think we can say our goodbyes. Take care, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.